This episode of Fresh and Buds is brought to you by Warmonger's Dips. Folks, do you like dips? Maybe a guac, maybe a salsa, maybe like a buffalo chicken dip? Come on down to Warmonger's Dips. It is a store in Wraith where things are divided: spicy in the war section or peace in the not spicy section. You know, that is the choice you have to make. You can only shop in one section though. So come on down. Good options on both sides. You're just going to have to choose one. So Warmonger's Dips, thank you for the sponsorship. Fresh and Buds, Mara Faris, right now.
Fresh and
All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all my buds, and this is episode 140, and joining us in the wake of Dromai leaving Classic Constructed, it is the Empress herself, Mara Faris. How you doing, Mara? It's been too long. What's going on?
How's it going, everybody? Hey, Tommy. Things are good. I just got back late last night from Battlehard in Atlanta. Had a good time. Had some fun. Gave her one last good big send off, and things have been fun. Lots of stuff going on.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I mean, you had to go big, go to a Battle Hardened to, say goodbye, get some extra rounds. Like, there's just more rounds in the Battle Hardened, so you get more time out there.
I always really enjoy, I do a lot of Battle Hardens, and something I always tell everybody is if you ever get a chance to go to some of these large events, the Battle Hardens, the Callings, I always encourage everybody to go. Not only is it just great to hang out and go see friends, and you get to see a lot of these friends that you don't normally get to see, or the people you hang out with online. It's always awesome, but just the level of competition at these big events is unmatched. You get some of the best players in the game really playing their hearts out, and I think nothing quite compares to really going to these bigger events, and I love it so much. It's one of my favorite things to do.
It's a great battleground to really test your strength and kind of get, some good reps in. I mean, at the minimum, I always love to tell people is you're going to beat a lot, right? As you learn this game, you got to take from it, right? You can't just lose. You got to just take from it, which, those events are a great opportunity. And if you just start winning, that's awesome too. So, but we have a great show for you all. We're going to talk about Dromai. We're going to reminisce. We're going to look to the future. We're going to, see, what went wrong. No, not what went wrong. What went right for Dromai.
What went wrong? They released a Draconic Illusionist.
Yeah.
That was widely regarded by some in this community as a mistake.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about that as well. I wouldn't go that far. Well, maybe I would someday. It depends on when you
Depends on
ask
what
me.
hero you're playing.
Yeah, what hero? Yeah, exactly. So, but before we get to that, I do want to ask you, catch up. What's new in your life? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, honestly. Since the last time I was on the pod, a lot's gone on. I took second at a pro tour, took a couple of top 8s under my belt. Kind of made a little bit of a name for myself in this community, which was kind of cool. I think I was going back and watching the last time I was on the show just as a kind of a primer, just to remember what we talked about before, and it's kind of wild how different things are since then. The whole Empress of Volcor thing. I keep saying, I'm one day it's gonna get old. I'm gonna get tired of being called the Empress. It's not happened yet. I don't know if it ever will. It's pretty cool. But yeah, no, it's wild. Still doing the art thing. Doing custom art and tokens for anyone who doesn't know that half of my Fab career. That's kind of how I got started in Fab, just doing art and altars and things like that. And then the pro play stuff kind of came in later. So we're still doing that. We're still doing the art, and that stuff's been going very well. I've been pretty consistently booked about 3 months out on commissions. But traveling a lot, going to a lot of shows and a lot of tournaments, and just playing a lot of cards and hanging out with a lot of people. And it's been pretty wild. It's a little bit surreal that this is, you know, people ask like, "What do you do for a living?" I'm like, "Well, I do art and I play cards, and that's my full time job." I'm I'm very fortunate, and I think it's been a hell of a year.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, when we first, caught up and you were on the pod, I think you hadn't even worked a fab event as a artist yet.
Yeah.
You had just been coming out, like kind of popped onto the scene with your art, and then you were playing a lot of Prism at the time. I don't even know if Dromai was out at the time.
No, I don't think she was.
No, which is like crazy, and
Yeah.
obviously stuck with the Illusionist. Dromai ended up being really a big part of your playing career and your persona. You've really owned it, as you said, that it hasn't gotten old yet, and it probably won't. So it's pretty incredible. Now, you mentioned you had been doing a lot of travels, which is awesome. That's like the best part about playing this game and playing it at a competitive level, that you get to travel a lot. So want to ask, like, what are some of the coolest places, the best experiences you've had in your travels so far?
Oh gosh, there's been so many. I think I would be doing it a disservice if I didn't say the two that I think are the absolute coolest are this last year I got to go to both Barcelona, Spain, and to Queenstown, New Zealand, and Auckland. Um, Both for Worlds last year and then for the celebrational. Um, Prior to Barcelona, I had never traveled outside the United States in my entire life. I've never had the opportunity. I've never really been able to travel internationally. So the fact that I not only got to travel abroad for the first time, but also to do it while playing this amazing game that we all love, was pretty freaking cool. I got to actually just spend a couple of extra days in Barcelona too, and just sort of see the sights and take in everything, and that I think was definitely a time that I'm never gonna forget. And I didn't think anything was gonna be able to top that. I thought that was gonna be the number one most memorable vacation of my life, and then they took me to Queenstown. um, LSS was incredibly generous enough to invite me out to the celebrational. They flew me into Auckland. We got a tour of the LSS the new LSS studio, and then they took us all down to Queenstown and took us to dinner after dinner after dinner, and then we went, we went bungee jumping and to hot springs and we went to a sheep shearing at one point. It was incredible, and it was just like nonstop, just stuff after stuff after stuff, and cool things to see, and New Zealand is just absolutely unreal gorgeous. And then we just played a whole ton of Flesh and Blood. It was funny. I remember like coming back from New Zealand, and I just like on a whim checked my like 90-day XP, and I was like third in the United States in 90-day XP on accident, just because in that like span of couple of weeks we had just played so much Flesh and Blood. It was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, like I just I love all the travel and I love everything, but the two international trips have been easily some of the most memorable of my life, and then we've got Amsterdam coming up, and this will be my third ever international trip, and it's again just gonna be because of Flesh and Blood, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And from what everybody could see, the New Zealand trip was really really cool. It was such a cool initiative for LSS to do, and they really took care of you guys, and that was so neat. And also, funny enough, actually earlier today, I was just scrolling through TikTok, as one does, because why not, I guess. But I scrolled through TikTok. I hit like an interview with somebody, and they were talking about New Zealand, and they were saying that they have no deadly animals there. No deadly mammals, no venomous snakes or anything like that. So a common quote, and this just reminded me when you said that you went bungee jumping. A common quote among Kiwis is that nothing can kill us here, so we find ways to try and kill ourselves. So, which I was like,
pretty great.
Pretty awesome. I mean, it's just, kind of goes towards the vibe of like LSS and stuff like that. They just have like such a full of life kind of vibe, and I think it really translates into the game. So, and yeah, Amsterdam should be awesome. And listen, I'll be honest with you, I looked at flights earlier today as well. So these international,
you should come. Absolutely should.
We'll see if I qualify. There's a couple more weeks of ProQuest. If I qualify, maybe.
I believe in you.
Oh, thank you. I had a hot start, folks, at ProQuest 5-0 in Swiss, then lost to a Dromai in top 8.
Yeah. Well, now she's gone. Now you can't possibly lose again. It's the only way you lose was Dromai. And now she's gone.
Yeah. That and Kano sometimes. And
just don't worry about that.
And Victor's.
Kano is not real and can't hurt us.
That's true. That is so true. So I'm going to just ignore the bad matchups and just try to hope for the good ones. Now, you mentioned that you went to Atlanta, took Dromai for a final spin. How did the Battle Hard in Atlanta go?
Overall went pretty great. I ended 8-0 in Swiss. Felt pretty on top of the world. I actually got Guy Cohen was there also, one of the other really well-known, well-respected Dromai players. And Guy and I have played in sealed events against each other, but he and I never had a chance to actually play a heads-up Dromai mirror. And not only did we finally get paired and finally got our Dromai mirror, they got the kind of latter half of it on camera. We were the backup camera match, so people got to kind of see some of that, and it was a real banger of a game. It was great, and I won, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I was really excited that he and I, for our kind of last hurrah, got to get that like one last mirror that we've been wanting forever. So that was really cool. Did kind of go out in top 8, which made me a little sad. We got a little unlucky, and our Prism opponent got a little bit lucky and found the full ALS loop combo on turn 2.
Oof.
It was a little rough. Not exactly the way I wanted to go out, but it happens, and it overall was a pretty good experience. It was great. Played the PTI event. It's now a ProQuest Plus, I think they're calling them.
Mm-hmm.
Got to play that on Sunday, which I did play Dromai at that. Anyone who's been following me lately knows I had a New Year's resolution this year that I was banning myself from playing Dromai on Sunday events. So I've actually been playing a lot of kind of wacky and fun decks on my Sundays, and I'm sure we'll get into some of those, because those are some of the other heroes that I've been interested in. But yeah, so I just this once let myself play Dromai on a Sunday event. Got pretty close. Ended 5-2. Lost to both the eventual winner of the event and Ethan Van Sant himself on back-to-back Levia games.
Oof.
I played 3 Levias in a row. I beat one and then lost to the other 2, but beat everything else. My official final ultimate Dromai game was the very last round of the ProQuest Plus against Rose Smith, who is a renowned fatigue dash player. I think maybe some of your listeners know her. She's excellent
big
player.
Big time bud.
Yeah. Rose is fantastic. Rose and I got to play, and I still don't exactly know how this happened. I fatigue dash.
Oh my.
It was pretty great. The ending was actually pretty epic. So I had been pitch deck. So everyone knows I play my pretty aggressive Dromai. And I have Scar for Scars in that list. And Scar for Scar historically not great against fatigue decks. They're pretty much dead chain enders. So I was like, all right, eventually though, she's not going to try to fatigue me. She's going to get the pistol shots online and then start just coming in blazing with her gun. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to just pitch deck my Scar for Scars, set them all on the bottom of my deck, and then wait, and then she's eventually going to come in with the big guns, and then she's going to drop my life total super fast, and then I'm just going to go scar, finish the game off. So that was my plan. And then I threw some random attack about like the turn before I'm getting ready to draw my scars, and she goes, "I'll go to 1." And I panic.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh no, my plan is ruined. So we go into my last turn, and I've got a Scar for Scar in Arsenal, and my hand is E-Strike, Scar, Dust Up. And we're both at 1. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, well, we at least can just like take her hand, and then we'll see if we can scrape something out. So I go, send the E-Strike. Send 5 go again. And she goes, block 3, sigil from Arsenal, gain 3 life, go to 2.
Oh my god.
I windmill slam that Scar as hard as I could. And then we win the game.
Wow. I mean, two great players. I mean, you and Rose are just some of the best in the game right now. And just to hear such an epic game like that, I wish it was on camera or something like that.
I do too. That game was fantastic.
And for those of you who don't know, Rose is a fierce competitor. And I remember the first time I played against Rose. And I believe at the time she was playing a lot of like this pummel Icelander in Blitz before Icelander was released in Uprising. And it was like a pro quest out in Central PA. And she wanted to keep playing that deck. So she just brought Oldham, but just put Oldham cards in too. But it was still like pummel Icelander. So, and I was on Levi at the time. And, you know, and that was before Levi had, you know, the tools that she has now. So, yeah, she handily destroyed me, as I would expect going forward every time I play Rose. But that's awesome. You know, I'm glad that you had a good weekend with Dromai to finish out. Obviously, I know it would have been nice to have won, but you know, like you said, there's a lot of great competitors, a lot of great competition at those events, and I mean, obviously, nobody questioned your medal, as they say.
Yeah.
And
I'm super happy. And 8-0 Battle Hardened run is pretty difficult. And I'm pretty proud of that. I think at the very least, you know, that I think that's about as good a send off as I could have really hoped for. You know, anything beyond that always just takes, you know, winning a Battle Hardened is always a little bit of luck. Top 8ing a Battle Hardened, I think, is a lot of is a worthwhile endeavor, and I'm more than happy to add that one to my roster as my last real send off for the hero. So I'm pretty happy with it overall, I think.
Yeah, and we're happy for you. We are happy for you. Now we're going to take a quick break from Dromai because I do want to get your fresh faves from Heavy Hitters, because we haven't chatted in a bit. Heavy Hitters is the newest set, and you were one of the first people that got to play it in
I was.
So
Which,
you know,
that was a whole thing that was cool. Getting they just hand us a whole set and they're like, all right, go build decks.
Yeah, which is super cool. So I want to know a couple of your favorites from Heavy Hitters. So let's start. Who was your favorite hero?
I think I got to give it to Kasai. KO's a very close second. I think the KO design having a I think KO was the first time I was like, man, I could see myself playing a brute. But overall, I think I love the design for Kasai, her gameplay mechanic. You know, the head getting the Centauri Salt Swords, I think, is such a cool, like, giving someone outside of Dromai some allies. I think it was pretty neat. So I think Kasai gets my vote, just barely edging out KO.
That's a fair answer. What was your favorite weapon?
All right. For this one, I'm gonna give it to Graven Call, actually.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, going a little outside here. I think the whole expansion slot thing has just been such a wildly huge success for LSS. I think we've gotten so many very cool, very interesting cards that add a lot to some of these classes without having to go like real deep. And then Graven Call's a great example of this, where like it really kind of offers some new and interesting gameplay for both of the assassins. And even, you know, going in with new, I'm kind of excited to see if we get more of this kind of play style where we can get the kind of ping and daggers and stuff like that. And Azuri has been one of the heroes actually that I was talking about that I've been playing on these Sunday events. And I've got a little bit of a soft spot for Azuri, and the Graven calls have been very interesting and been super fun to play with. So I've been thoroughly enjoying that.
It's very, very cool. And, you know, the weapon buyback kind of mechanic is so cool in Assassin and soon in Olympia as well. We saw in Atlanta, the Olympia's getting that pretty cool. Let's go to the shop and buy some equipment. But
I'm kind of excited to see what Olympia does with that. I think that's going to be kind of cool. I want to see if we start seeing like Olympia with, you know, the oh gosh, the chess piece. Oh, I'm just like super blanking out.
The Courage Blade Hold.
Courage, yes, thank you.
So yeah, you can do it multiple times. Oh,
yeah, like just
so
set up these big courage turns. I'm kind of curious to see if we see something like that, or even just, you know, just have all the block armor and then just buy it all back and just have a ton more block. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Even
I'm excited to see that design space explored more.
Double parry blade, who cares? You know, just go crazy. You know, you can do some wild stuff. Now, speaking of equipment, what is your favorite equipment from Heavy Hitters?
I think I would be failing if I didn't say Balance of Justice. I think I almost think it's the cop out answer, but I think this piece of equipment is so well designed and so interesting. And I find myself every deck that I build now, I'm just like, Balance of Justice always kind of has to be on your mind of like, if I'm a hero that draws cards, am I concerned about balance? How does balance affect my willingness to draw extra cards on a turn? And, you know, on the other side, you know, how many matchups can I play balance into for those decks that want to draw cards? I know, like, even like with my Dromai, because of Tome, there were several matchups where I stopped playing Tome into because I felt like giving my opponent that extra card from balance like swung that matchup too far to make me feel really comfortable on it, with like matchups like Dash, where like you can accidentally set them up for a big like max velocity turn. You know, but then also at the same time where like I got to run balance on Dromai into matchups like Fi, where Fi is really looking to set up that big Art of War turn, and being able to get the block on balance and then draw a card to sort of crack back and like answer that big power turn with a big power turn of my own was awesome. I love the design of this card, and I think it takes all of these cards that are in the game that are very powerful and just puts like a little bit of a check on them, and I think it's just beautifully executed. I love that card. I think it's one of my favorite cards in the game now.
Absolutely. And it's just like, and Guardwell, I think, is such a nice little fix too, as well. And I want to see where they explore that in other different kinds of equipment and how they use it, how often they use it. But it was kind of the nice checks and balance for giving Brute Scowling Flesh Bag, which is arguably one of the best headpieces in the game, I think, you know, for what that card does. But like then giving everybody else like, hey, your Blood Rush turn, I'm gonna get some value off of. So like it's a really, really awesome card. So that's a great answer. Now, what was your favorite run of the mill card? Attack action card. We had a lot of blocks, non-attack action, reaction.
So I was trying really hard not to just go back to the expansion slot well on this one, but I kind of love the design of Synodical Axia. I think this is another card very similar to Graven Call that just opens up some very interesting design space for its classes. I think both Viserai and especially Vinset can do some really interesting stuff with this card, and I think it's a great design. It does some really interesting things. It can really change the way that some of these decks function, and I love cards that make me think. I love cards that I have to like look at and be like, all right, how am I supposed to use this? What, like, if this card is in my hand, how does this change the texture of my hand and the number of options I have? And Synodical Axia just does that in spades. And I'm very excited to see who's going to be the first person to really break this card. And I want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, with Dromai gone, right? Like, I think we could see a lot more Vinsets, a lot more Viserais back in the mix. You know, I've seen some insane Vincent stuff going on,
Yeah,
and
we saw a Viscera win a Pro Quest this weekend.
yeah, and Viscera has been good. Obviously, without Rosetta Thorn, has been a little bit kind of lost in the wind, but like, I do feel like, but Vincent is primed. I think there is some really cool stuff I've seen. I had somebody in Philadelphia at the Battle Hardened go like 2 or 3 Deathly Whales in a row at me, and
I
that's
can
terrifying.
I can give your listeners a little bit of an exclusive. In Atlanta this weekend, I bought a Spellbound Creepers.
What?
Yeah.
What? I
Yeah.
mean, it's a good card. I mean, that card's very good.
It's a card I've wanted to own for a long time, and it's funny because like I've said for forever, I love Runeblade as a class. It's one of my favorite classes, and I have never actually had an opportunity to really play a Runeblade. Um, it's always been in positions where like either the Runeblades weren't good in the meta, or Dromai was too good for me to like ever really put down, and or I just didn't quite ever have the cards for it. And one of the big ones is I've just never owned I've never owned the shoes, and they're pretty
Yeah.
important. So I sucked it up this weekend. I was like, you know what? I want to start fiddling around with some rune blades. I want to have them. I want to kind of play around and see what some of these classes are capable of doing. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's going to be on my to-do list of things I want to kind of start messing around with. I mean, I sort of alluded with it with Sonata Galaxia. I
Yeah.
think Vincent has a lot of unexplored space right now, and I think she is better than a lot of people give her credit for. And I'm also expecting a lot of Prism coming up. I think Prism is an incredibly strong deck right now, and man, Vincent gives Prism some night terrors.
Oh yeah.
That unpreventable arcane damage makes Prism's whole game plan just sort of fall apart. And so I
Really,
wanna see what the hero's capable of.
really. I mean, this could be Vincent's time. We will see.
Yeah.
But the creepers are insanely good. I know that Gary, Mr. Viz, definitely his ears perked up when you heard creepers.
I thought he might.
So Gary, enjoy that one. We're never mentioning creepers on the show again, ever, unless you ask a
Yeah.
listener question or it's relevant or I just want to talk about it. But we are now going to return back to Dromai here and give Dromai a nice little send off. I have some questions for you. First of all, you were the marquee player, or you were just the hero. You were the hero. People call you the Empress, Mara. How does it feel that Dromai has hit Living Legend? It's got to be bittersweet, right?
I think it is exactly that. I think I even said as much when I posted on Twitter about her goodbye post. I think I literally said it was a very bittersweet moment. Uh, I mean, it's a little sad. I mean, you spend a lot of time really dedicated to one hero. I put a lot of work into that deck list, into really understanding the mechanics of that hero. I mean, everyone kind of teases about it. I literally wrote a book on Dromai. I have a 65-page document that was just detailed all of my thoughts on Dromai and things like that. And I put a lot of hours and blood, sweat, and tears into that hero. And so on one hand, it kind of makes me feel good. Like it feels like all the work kind of paid off. I think getting to see the kind of culmination of that, and see the amount of work that I put in, and the amount of work that I did. And you can even see in Arthur's deck in the Pro Tour, and um, the decks from the decks from Atlanta, and all these other major events that Dromai's been doing very well at. I can see my fingerprints in all of them, and that kind of hits me a little bit. It's pretty cool to see how much influence I've had on this hero, and seeing her kind of go all the way with it it's a good feeling, but at the same time, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
It's a little sad. Um, it's sort of a there's a vacuum now. There's sort of a what do we do now? What's next? Starting over on a new hero is tough, and I've been dabbling a little. I mentioned earlier, I've been kind of forcing myself to play some other heroes and sort of branch out, because we knew this was coming. We've known for a little while.
Mhm.
that she was almost certainly going to go at least sometime this year and probably on the earlier half of this year. We kind of figured that if she didn't go at the Pro Tour, ProQuest season was probably going to take her out. Maybe Nationals at the absolute latest.
Mhm.
Um, so we've had a little bit of time to kind of brace for it at least. Um, but even still, like, doesn't matter how much you kind of prepare for it and you kind of mentally, get ready for it. It's still tough, and it still leaves a lot of where do we go from here? And so we'll see.
Yeah,
It's
well, the beautiful thing about this game and the way LSS is treating it is we know the next Dromai, the next Draconic Illusionist is on her way,
Yeah.
Down the road. I mean, I have to imagine personally that, we're going to see a lot of the Prism treatment here with Dromai on the second round, where we get a definitely powered down, right? That's the whole point of a second printing of these heroes. But then you
I,
give them some juice after, right?
yeah, as I say, I'm not so sure I'm prepared to call New Prism a powered down Prism. New Prism's scary, y'all. If anyone's still not paying attention to that hero, she's real scary. She's
Oh yeah,
real scary.
she is.
Um,
But it took
it did. It did.
another
It took a
weapon.
bit. Yeah, there was a lot of call to just refer to it as redo Minaris.
Yeah. I kept calling it New Numenaris.
Yeah, I like redo Minaris. It's like, all
Redo.
right, we had that one. Let's do it over. Let's get a redo.
It is, but I imagine, if I was a betting man, I guess I am. I played a lot of Brute in my day, that we're going to see some kind of treatment the same way. So you won't have to wait too long, I don't think. But in the meantime, there's going to be a void. But there's this another beautiful thing about this game. There's so many awesome heroes, and we will talk about maybe what you're really considering here in a bit. But I wanted to ask you, and you mentioned it. She was involved in so many like pivotal OP moments, I think, right? We saw her in two finals of Pro Tours, right? The one that you were in with Michael, and then the most recent one with Arthur Trehe. And, first of all, what was it like for you in that final? I know that you eventually lost to Michael, but I mean, the finals of the Pro Tour, that's awesome, right? And what was it like to see Arthur, get there with like a pretty wild game as well?
Yeah, I am glad that Arthur's game was an incredible game to watch. I think that's definitely one of those games that's kind of going to go down in the history of Flesh and Blood. And people are going to be like, "Hey, do you remember the first time that you watched that Arthur Max game?" Like, it was incredibly executed. Two absolute masters of their respective heroes, just sending haymakers at one another and just clawing. Like, there was I vividly remember watching those last turns, and just like every turn was just haymakers and just barely. I remember like, oh my god, Arthur has this locked, he's definitely gonna win, and then Max pulls it out, and then Max survives the turn, and then I'm like, oh god, now Max is absolutely gonna win, and then Arthur pulls it out, and then we go back, and like there's like 4 or 5 turns like that where I was just absolutely convinced that this was gonna be the last turn of the game, and every turn it just scraped a little closer, and it was absolutely beautiful. Uh, it was pretty funny. I was actually in a side event. I was in one of the Sunday side events in LA while the finals was going on, and I had finished my third round and just like sprinted back over to go watch some more of this match, and they paired my fourth round as it's going into, I think, like about like 3 turns before the game ended, and they paired my last round, and I sat down with my opponent and I was like, what hero are you on? And he's like, I'm on Leviat, and I'm like, cool, I'm on Dash.io. Our game is going to be like 5 minutes long. Can we please just watch this game first? So my opponent and I sat there with the round timer ticking, just on my phone, watching the final rounds of the game. And So it was really cool. I was super glad that my opponent was nice enough to let me actually just like watch the last couple rounds, and then I killed him in 2 turns, and it was fun.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. I mean, it was a pretty incredible. Yeah, I mean, I was watching in the car on my way back from Boston, and you know, I was with my two cousins, and they've played a little bit of Flesh and Blood, but they're not into it. But like, I'm just like, oh, could you believe this? Could you believe that? And I was like, it was so back and forth, and then like, I still think about what if Max had drawn that in the swing right there
Oh
at
my
the
gosh,
end.
yeah.
Like that would have been even crazier. But like, it was
Yeah.
still such a nice, you know, a it wasn't the send off for Dromai, but it put Dromai
It
in the
was
position.
it was the real send off for Dromai, I
Yeah,
think. And I talked to Arthur just very briefly afterwards, and I was like, thank you for giving our girl one hell of a run. And
yeah, absolutely.
I think
And
that was the way to send her out. Like, I'm so happy that she got that last, because there was the meme forever, the Dromai can't convert, Dromai can't convert. You know, I think it was pretty awesome to see, with a resounding voice, this is how Dromai converts.
yeah,
And it was a great send off. I was very happy that she kind of got to go out that way, and I think that's the way that you always want to go. I think we've had some heroes that sort of kind of clung on and sort of just scraped their way across the finish line. Um, and that's never like the story that you want. So
yeah.
getting that last big epic push, I think, is the best way to go.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like, I understand why people will say or used to say like the Dromai can't convert, the Dromai can't convert. But like the reality of that statement is that Dromai was such a force to be reckoned with that everybody had to be prepared for Dromai. So if a player made top 8 of a major event, right? That means that their plan for Dromai was good enough, or that they
Yeah,
avoided Dromai, right?
yeah,
So obviously they're going to have the plan for Dromai still in place when they're in the top 8. So that's just the nature of the beast. Just like kind of like the boogeyman. Dromai
yeah,
was like, you got to worry about Dromai. Dromai's very good. So,
yeah.
and I think the can't convert is a little bit, it was
Ah,
just like people had to
it was
focus.
just a meme.
Yeah, it was certainly me, but like, we all knew that Dromai was the sauce, so we
Yeah.
had to worry about it. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about Tome,
Hmm.
the book, books,
The
Jerry.
book.
It no doubt supercharged the deck in a lot of ways, but
Hmm.
I was wondering, if you felt that her rate or her journey, how fast it was to LL, would have been the same or slower without the printing of that card. Because like I think Dromai was already quite good, but like
Hmm.
this card was also like really good.
I I think this is gonna be like a slightly hot take, but I don't think Tome had quite as much of an impact on Dromai as it kind of feels like it did. Um, I The card is incredibly good. Don't
Mm-hmm.
get me. I think that card is very, very strong. Um, but I think I think what Tome did more than anything for Dromai was put more eyes on the hero. I think you had a lot of people, because I think prior to Tome, Dromai was kind of this hero that like everyone knew was very good, but Dromai just kind of had her dedicated, base of followers, and not a lot of people were really looking at like picking Dromai up. I
Mm-hmm.
think we just had, Dromai had the people that were going to play Dromai for everything, no matter what, and then kind of everybody else. Um, and I think Tome was the first time a lot of people went, "Oh, this hero is just very good." And I think you had a lot of new faces suddenly interested in Dromai and wanting to try the hero out and trying to pick the hero up, and then kind of learning what the rest of us already knew, which was that Dromai is just a very powerful hero who does some very, very hard to deal with things. Tome definitely like gives you one big kind of power push turn, but it I don't think it like fundamentally altered the way the hero played or really changed her strategy all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think what it did was it put a lot more people paying attention to the hero and learning the hero. And so I think we saw definitely her win percentages and her numbers spike. Not so much I think a little bit because Tome is just a powerful card, but a lot because we just had more people playing the hero at that point. I think more people were just interested and really putting the time and effort into learning how to play her. And I think that more than anything was what kind of accelerated her towards that living legend uh, farm upstate run by old man Starvo.
Yeah. What is Starvo doing up there anyway? But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think that's actually a great take there because that card gets printed and then if it feels like everybody because I feel like I opened a billion Crown of Dominions when I was opening. Was that Uprising?
Dynasty.
That was Dynasty. Yeah,
Dynasty.
I felt like that I was opening a ton of those. So like this is just maybe just some self bias here, but maybe other people were like, oh, I have this Crown of Dominion running around, and now I have a reason to play it. And Dromai was already kind of good, and I do like dragons; they're cool. Mara's cool. Mara knows what she's doing. So like all of a sudden it was like a cascade effect, and then we're talking about what happened right now, and that's kind of a cool thing. And Crown Dominion, I guess you need a reason. I mean, I wonder if here's actually a nice follow up question to the Tome discussion. Is Fi gonna use it ever? I mean, or to a good to a competitive level, I guess.
I can already answer that because I have already played that card in Fi.
Oh.
It was so at the Celebrational, they made us play a bunch of different weird formats, and one of the formats that they made us play they called Underdog Blitz, and it was Blitz, but only the heroes that were 100 LL points or lower. And in that format, I wanted to play Fi, and I was looking at the Fi lists that were already out and running around, and so Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is banned in Blitz, and when I was doing my early testing, I was like, Mask of Momentum kind of sucks when the games are 2 turns long.
Yeah.
It just doesn't quite have enough pressure. So I was kind of playing around with some stuff, and I ended up running Royal Fi with just all the tomes and just using them just to dig to find Art of Wars. I was literally just running that plus Art of War plus Cash-In, and I even had a Gorganian tome just because I just wanted to find Art of War as fast as possible because in Blitz that's all that matters. If you can just find your Art of War as quickly as possible, that game tends to end pretty fast. So yeah, I think it's safe to assume that it's playable. I played 3 games with it in the Celebrational. 2 of my games ended before turn 3 in my favor, and the only game I lost was to a Prism who did 19 damage to me on turn 0.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That one's on camera. You can go find that game. It was pretty funny. It was I laugh because a bunch of people were like, are you mad that you got super high rolled? I was like, I was playing fine, killing people on turn 2. There's no world where I'm allowed to be mad about that.
Yeah. You made your bed with that one, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I will say I do think in the CC formats, I think as long as links and momentum are still legal, they're still probably better in the bigger formats. But Blitz Royal Fi, I think, is a very legitimate deck. I think if I was going to play a Blitz tournament right now, I would probably run that deck back and be very happy with it.
That's very cool. Now, let's look to the future a little bit, and we'll answer some listener questions. What's next for Mara? We're talking about this gap that we're going to have until the next Draconic Illusionist. Is it back to your Prism roots? Prism is doing some Prism things right now, but you've mentioned and hinted at a lot of other heroes.
I have. So short answer is it is probably going to be Prism as like my primary focus for the time being. I Prism is doing some very, very powerful things and some pretty cool things. I think that hero is very powerful and a little bit under-respected right now. I think we still see a lot of people kind of just assuming that they have a good Prism matchup without actually like really playing against a good Prism. I don't even think we have that many good Prism players right now. Shout out to Ray Adams, who has been just going nuts, like with just like really hammering and really learning that deck and teaching a whole bunch of people how to play that deck and showing a bunch of people how powerful that hero is. Um, but I think in the next couple of weeks, as this ProQuest season comes in, I think we're going to see more and more people. Especially, I think we're going to see a lot of the Dromai orphans probably picking this deck up, and I think we're going to start seeing the rise of Prism in this meta. Um, so yeah, I think Prism is kind of my standard go-to right now. I think
Hmm.
she's just looking very strong. But I do have a couple of other decks that I've been toying with. There's a um, I mentioned briefly I've played around a little bit with Azuri. I like Azuri a lot. Azuri's a lot of fun. I have a I have an Azuri list that I've been playing at like armories and playing a couple of things. Uh, that was a go wide contract Azuri with Razor Reflex and Art of War.
Oh yeah.
It's actually been a lot of fun, and Gravencall did great things for that deck. Um, just trying to like chain multiple contracts in a row and just really rack up silver has been kind of a fun deck I've been toying with. Um, I mentioned briefly I'm starting to look a little bit at Vincent. I think Vincent has a lot of potential that I really want to kind of explore. Um, I think the other one though, the other really big one that's kind of competing with Prism for my heart right now is Dash.io.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Dash.io lately, and have been very impressed with this hero. I think Dash.io is another hero that I think people are sort of sleeping on a little bit. Um, I think people sort of saw her when she first came out and played some very early iterations of the hero, and kind of just decided that she's too inconsistent. She's too swingy. I'm not interested. And then they kind of put her down, and nobody really sat down and tried to refine that list. And I've been putting a lot of work into it. I think there's a couple other people that are doing some work and trying to kind of actually solve this hero. And I think she's pretty close. I think a couple more, like one or two more little innovations and adjustments, and I think Dash.io could be a very real contender right now. She's just doing powerful things. Dash.io is another hero like Prism that just inherently has a hero power that is just incredible.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the Bruin goes, but
Yeah.
there's a very real chance that you'll see me on some mechanologist here in the near future too.
Yeah, I mean, well, I will say my ProQuest over the weekend, a Dash.io piloted by Bud Nick Katavian, made the top 8, playing a wacky brew with like quantum processor and stuff like that. I was like,
That's
what? Yeah, I'm like,
That's
you
what I'm
know,
talking about. I think there's a lot of things that you can do with that
yeah,
hero. Some really interesting builds that just have not been super well explored.
yeah.
And I'm pretty excited to see some more innovation on that hero.
Yeah, super exciting. But, we also have another illusionist coming. We don't know a lot about Enigma. Let's put it on the
She is
table.
an enigma, would you say?
I would say that, actually, Mara. That is actually right on the nose. But we know the hero ability, and we've seen some cards for her. What are your thoughts on Enigma? It's hard I can't really say, are you going to play her? But
Right.
what are your thoughts? What are your hopes? Maybe some predictions on Enigma.
I am at the very least, of course, I'm interested. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's a new illusionist. She looks really interesting. Um, she seems like she's gonna play a little bit more like old Prism did,
Mm-hmm.
in that just like aura kind of like like spectral shield attacks and like that sort of gameplay. Which is very cool and would be kind of a nice little deviation, because I know that was actually a big complaint. A lot of the old Prism players, when New Prism came out, kind of felt like New Prism was really cool and really powerful, but didn't really scratch that itch like old Prism did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it'll be interesting to see if Enigma kind of fills that void a little bit. It's kind of that old Prism slow kind of build up the board, uh, long grindy kind of aura gameplay. And I think it'd be kind of cool, and it'd be nice to have that back in the game again. I think I think that kind of filled a space that no other hero really ever matched. Though I would certainly like to see it done with things that aren't Spectra.
Yeah, yeah,
I
please.
think I think even I can admit maybe Spectra was a not so great idea. I don't think that's a hot take.
Yeah, no.
I think I think all of us can kind of agree that maybe Spectra not so bueno. Um, so I'll be interested to see like just where they take that kind of design philosophy if they want to get that same kind of old Prism style, but do it in a new and interesting direction. I think I am constantly impressed with LSS with every time a new hero comes out, and they manage to find these ways to make these heroes, despite being the same class, or even like same talents as other heroes that exist, and feel just so fundamentally unique. And I'm absolutely in love with that. And I think it's going to be very exciting to see. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching Enigma very closely. Um, I'm also a little bit interested in New. I think New looks kind of cool. Like I mentioned already, I've been playing around with Azuri a little bit, um, and that idea of like stealing your opponent's cards and kind of using your opponent's resources against them is really cool and very flavorful for what the character is.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm very curious to see where New ends up as well. I think that's the other one that I'm kind of keeping an eye on.
Yeah, and the coolest thing about it is, well, we're gonna get to play a lot of it in limited, so we'll get a good feel for what these heroes do, and
Mhm.
and then we can make decisions from there. And I totally agree with you on the way that LSS can make like heroes feel so different, even though they're in the same class. I mean,
Yeah.
even speaking personally, like on Riptide, but people will come and like say, like ask for help on Riptide, and I'll say, first of all, forget everything you know about Rangers.
Yeah.
This is not a Ranger. This guy's throwing
Yeah, like
traps and stuff like
I love
that.
like Riptide and Azalea even have the exact same card pool, plus or minus
Mm-hmm.
like what, like 2 cards. They're
Yeah,
identical card pools, and yet the heroes play just fundamentally entirely differently, and I think that's so cool.
yeah, it's quite brilliant. So yeah,
Mhm.
super excited for Part the Misfail and what it's gonna bring us. Obviously, we don't know a whole lot yet. I think it's gonna hinge on the weapons, of course, but that's
Yeah.
usually the case. But we do
Which
have
we did
some.
get the weapon names. We got the weapon names.
We did.
I think just last night.
It
I'm
was Mistblade something or something Mistblade for new, and
uh
then Scroll of something.
it's Cosmo is the
Oh,
yeah, it's Scroll of Eternity, I think it is.
oh, that's actually pretty
Um
cool.
Yeah, it's super funny because I have a very good friend who has a cat named Cosmo, and that is now all I can think about when I'm thinking about Enigma's weapon.
I mean,
Uh,
I just think of Kramer from Seinfeld because that's his
yeah,
first name. But yeah, it should be exciting. I'm excited for this set. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I thought Heavy Hitters was a banger too. So I think we're off to a ripping start in 2024. Now we do have some listener questions. If you don't mind answering them, these come
of course.
from the Buds Discord, best place to hang out in all Flesh and Blood. Check it out. It's in
Mm.
the link tree below. First comes from Derek, aka Deathnor, who asks, when Dromai LLs, at the time, this was asked before
Right.
it happened, but now that
Technically, she's
Dromai.
legal as of recording. She is still legal for another 2 days.
Okay,
She
all
doesn't
right.
she doesn't LL till Friday. I'm sure this is gonna be released by then.
Yeah,
But
it'll be
as of
on
right
Thursday.
now,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So
When.
you've got about like 6 hours. Go.
Go. When Dromai LLs, will it make you sad to not see Arachne tossing a regicide and praying?
Will it make me sad? Nah. I will say I always had a gentleman's agreement whenever I played against Arachne, uh, because I knew some Dromais that were like, oh, you just don't even present a headpiece against them. Just don't even give them the opportunity. And I always told every Arachne, I told them right up front, I was like, I'm gonna play my royal hat. You have to earn it.
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
I
I think
mean,
that matchup was hard enough for Arachne as it was. I think at least just give them the chance. If they can get there, they deserve it. So so I am on record presenting Royal into every Arachne I think I've ever played against.
that's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
I am kind of curious to see if Arachne kind of bumps up a little bit. I think Coercive Tendency is a really cool card and another one that people have not really done a whole lot of exploring with. And I think Arachne might be one of the heroes that gains the most with Dromai leaving, because that was a very nearly unwinnable matchup for Arachne.
Mhm.
And having Dromai out of the meta, I think we'll see what happens to the old spider.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I'd be curious to see if he does some more work now that she's gone.
I think it's possible. I mean, that's one of those like dash IOs where it's like super underexplored. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of focus on Missouri and stuff. But so we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking at Arachne. I've been coerced of tendency a couple times lately,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this card's insane.
Card is very good.
Next question comes from William Knuckles of the Table
Mhm.
Pit. We all love William. William, we love you. What will I expect to see from you at Armories next? William's trying to get an edge here. Prism, Missouri, Dashio, Enigma, New.
Yeah. And I think we've mostly already answered this a
Yeah.
little bit. William, by the way, if anyone does not know, Table Pit does UPF content on YouTube. They are a fantastic channel. They're locals of mine, so I guest star on their show every now and then. We've had some pretty wild moments on there. It's fantastic. If you're into UPF content, super shout out. Go check out Table Pit. Um, but for my armories, not a lot's gonna change. I've actually not played Dromai at Armory for a while now. I I kind of had that same, like I talked about, why I've been trying to play other heroes at my Sunday events. I've been doing the same thing for my armories. So of late, I've been playing a lot of Dash IO at Armory. I may start playing a little bit more Prism as we're going into ProQuest season, just to get a couple more reps under my belt. I think I've got Armory tomorrow, and I think I'm going to run Prism at that one. Just get a little bit more practice for ProQuest season.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you have it, William. Now you know. Always trying to get an edge, this William guy. Next question comes from Darth Prentice, a.k.a. Greg, who asks, which William is the tallest William you know?
So could be William Knuckles of that we were just talking about, but I think Hoodwill of Cardboard Cast, also a local of mine, and I think he edges Knuckles out by a couple of inches.
I'm almost positive. I believe
Yeah.
he's tall. He's tall. Not to dunk on William Knuckles, but
Yeah.
in the Buds Discord when this question was asked, William did respond to it and said, "Not me." So that was our confirmation there.
Yeah. I think it's got to be Hoodwill.
Yeah. Shout out Hoodwill. Next question comes from Dr. Runebabe, aka Anna. If you could teach any animal in the Virginia Safari Park to play Flesh and Blood, which would it be?
Oh, this is easy. The king cheetahs. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm a Virginia local, and I am very close to the Virginia Safari Park, which is one of the coolest animal experiences ever. It's you just get in your car and you drive. It's a zoo, but it's an open zoo where like you just drive through the exhibit and all the animals just kind of come up to your car, and it's really, really cool. It's super fun. But the Virginia Safari Park also has a cheetah breeding program, where they are one of the only programs that has king cheetahs. Which, if you've never seen a king cheetah, they're awesome. They're one of my favorite animals of all time. They're cheetahs, except for they have very large blotchy spots, and they're really cool looking. So yeah, easily I would definitely get some king cheetahs at my armory. I think it'd be great. I think they would probably love Fi. Just find the fastest hero for them, and I think they'd have a good time.
That's a
And
great
would
answer.
try to get them to stop eating all the new players.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's fine. They gotta get it full at some point.
Yeah.
We have a question from Capolo here who asks, when did you start doing card alters? What was the learning process?
So I've actually been doing card alters for quite a long time at this point. I want to say I've been doing it for almost 15 years now, very close to that. I got my start doing card alters in Magic. It was kind of a thing where I was sort of between jobs for a little while and just kind of looking to make a little bit of side cash. And I didn't even really intend for it to turn into a whole thing. It was just something I just sort of, I had, I was big into Warhammer for a long time, and I was like, well, I've got paint and I like doing this, and I my degree is actually in art. So I was like, I'm gonna just take my art degree and my Warhammer paints and combine these two things.
Mhm.
And so I started doing it just kind of as a side gig, just you know, doing a couple of things, posting them up online, and selling like a couple of things here and there. And then one day, a couple of months or so after I had been doing this for a bit, I got messaged by a good friend of mine. Her name is Lindsay Burley. She is another Magic card altarist who does fantastic work too. I'll strongly recommend anyone check her out. Um, and she messaged me and she was like, "Hey, Star City reached out to us and asked us to reach out to you too. They're looking to start bringing altar artists in on the Star City Opens, which is the precursor for the SCG cons. And they want to know if you're interested. And when Star City says, "Hey, do you want to come do art at our shows?" You say yes. Um, so I very quickly agreed to that and started just having a booth at pretty much every SCG Open and SCG Con for as many as I could travel to and as many as I could get access to, and just sort of started growing things from there. And then it just eventually sort of spun into a career. And like I say, I've been doing art and altars now for, like I say, I think probably about 15 years, maybe a little bit. Yeah, right about there. I think it was 2011 that I started doing altars, so pretty close. Was that 13 years now? 13, I
13,
think.
yeah,
It's
almost
been a bit.
14. Whew.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But thank you for the question,
Um.
Cap.
Yeah.
And do you have anything to add
Um.
to it?
Oh, I will say just he asked about the learning
Oh,
curve,
learning
and I think
process. Yes, sorry.
yeah, yeah. I think really the only thing I can really say to that is do it a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it's something that you're interested in learning how to do, the best thing I can say is grab some paints, grab some cards that you don't care about messing up a little bit, and just start painting. I think you can watch tutorials and you can watch other artists and you can learn some things here and there, but I think nothing really beats just getting your hands dirty and trying some things and just practice a whole bunch, paint a whole bunch, just keep doing it. Doesn't matter if you think it sucks or if you think it's terrible or you think you know you have no talent for it. I think one of the biggest things just in art in general. I see so many people that are like, "Oh, you're such a talented artist, I could never do that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been just drawing nonstop for 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you guys some of my like old stuff and it was awful. It's just unviewably trash." And it's just you just keep at it and you keep working on it. And like I think so little of art is inborn talent and so much of it is just people that just do it over and over and over again, and eventually you just kind of learn what works, and every piece you get a little bit better. So yeah, I just encourage anyone who's really looking to get into either art or altars, don't get discouraged and just keep pushing forward and keep working at it and you'll see improvement.
Yeah, I mean, grab your tunics right now, folks. You heard Mara. Grab your tunics, grab your gold foils, and start painting on them.
I do, in fact, have an altered tunic, and a whole lot of altered gold foils. I don't have any altered gold foils. Oh no, that's
Okay.
not true. That is not true. I have altered
Oh.
a gold foil now. Uh, Peter from MinMax Games, I altered his gold foil Dawnblade.
Oh,
It's
that's awesome.
it's a masterpiece. I think. It's white bordered.
Ooh. Oh, yes, I did
Yeah.
see that one. I remember seeing that one.
might
My eyes.
might might actually be one of my all-time favorite altars. It was fantastic.
That's so cool. Oh man, Mara. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sending Dromai off with me. And some people are rejoicing, some people are mourning, but in the end, it's flesh and blood. We all love this game, and we all love you, and you're just so awesome, and you're such a great bud, and that's why it's fresh and buds. You gotta get some
I
buds on
appreciate you
here.
having me. This has been fun. I think it's nice to kind of come back here too. I think especially something that I kind of mentioned on the first time that you had me on the show. Uh, you and I first really met at PT Jersey in the
Mm-hmm.
first Pro Tour. and I just remember it was like the first time, like you were the first person to like really to recognize me. Like you found me at the Thursday dinner and like pulled me over. Like, hey, come on, some of the content creators, we're hanging out and we're having food together. And like I think that was like the first time I ever felt like I was really part of the Fab community and the Buds community. So it's kind of nice to come back here and sort of bring it full circle. And I love it. I love this community. I love being a Bud.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
It's awesome. And to be honest, it's crazy. PT New Jersey feels like a decade ago, and it actually wasn't, but that's so crazy. I mean, we've all been through so much all together in this game, and it's just so cool. And it's the best thing about this game, you know. So thank you so much. Please plug anything you need to plug. You know, people know where to find you, but just remind them.
Sure. So you can always reach out to me. I'm at Blackwing Studio on pretty much everything. I'm super active on Twitter. My Twitter DMs are always open. If you ever have, Dromai questions or questions on whatever new thing I'm working on, I'm always happy to just chat with people and talk about whatever I'm doing. I also do have my own line of custom tokens that are at Blackwing Studio on Etsy, where you can go check out some of that. Or I do have my Patreon. It's mostly Dromai content, but we are working to migrate. We're gonna get some Prism stuff up. I'm gonna get a Dash.io guide here in a bit. Plus we have a patron Discord server that is super active, and mad shout out to the Court of the Dracai Patreon server, and everyone over there is just great people, and we have a lot of really good in-depth discussions on a lot of heroes and a lot of decks, and so that's been awesome. And then I think that's all the big ones: Discord, Patreon, Etsy, Twitter. Yep. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, so feel free. Anyone is always welcome to reach out to me and to just chat about pretty much anything.
Hell yeah. Please do. Although I'm sure most of the Buds already do, which is great.
Yeah.
You can continue to find me on Twitter at freshbudspod. I tweet somewhat regularly, usually just memes, and then also let people know when the show comes out. And then the Buds Discord is great. Check out the YouTube, like, comment, subscribe on there. If you're listening on Spotify or whatever, if there's a rating system, that helps us become more, discoverable. There is a Patreon. I don't do a lot on there, but it's just to kind of like help support, pay for, subscriptions to editing software and stuff like that. And check out my other podcast I do with my cousin Maddie called Fresh Juice, where we talk about indie video games. And that one's a ton of fun. We played a fun hockey game called Goons this week. It was a lot of fun. So check that out. And finally, Mara, I always like to talk a little bit about food. What's some food you've been enjoying lately in your travels, or just even at home? You mentioned you were cutting serranos earlier.
I was. I had to jam a little bit of food. I just made me a little egg and serrano and chipotle and sriracha sandwich just before I came on. I do still love my spicy foods.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Indian lately. What else have I had lately that's been really, really good? I've had just a ton of good food lately. We had some Japanese. Went to this little great Japanese place in Atlanta. Got some okonomiyaki, which is real good. That was awesome. I have still yet to find an Indian place that can match my heat tolerance. So if
I come to Jersey, they do not mess around. Like you tell them.
last time I was in Cincy, I had a friend took me out to to his like favorite Indian place, and he's like, all right, they'll get you some heat. And I had to tell the lady, I remember I was like, look, I understand when a white girl comes in here and says, I want the hottest you can make it, that you pat them on the head and you give them like a 2. Yeah. I'm like, I want a war crime in my mouth. Yeah. And it was good food. Food was still great. No complaints, but didn't even come close.
She's like, so, I want you to kill me. Just kill me. Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah. I have at least once told somebody that if I can't finish the meal, I will double their tip.
Oh, yeah. I mean, then that's asking for some, I guess not even true. They'll just give you like a huge portion. That's
That's cheating.
It's like, she'll never finish this. It's too much.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Mar, thank you again. And unfortunately, we don't have time for Charmer. Maybe we'll get to him at some point. But, folks, that's going to be it for this episode. See you next week. Stay fresh. Thank you, Mara. And on to other heroes.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. This has been great.